What are you putting off because of fear? What are you not doing because of fear? You know, I'm reminded of a saying that states that fear is false evidence appearing real. Many people today are walking around with the fear of the unknown, just holding them hostage of being able to live a fulfilled life. Today is your day to break away from that fear and start living today in the present. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but we do know what's going to happen today based off of where you're at. And right now, I challenge you to take full advantage of your right nows. Don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has enough trouble of its own. But you can plan for tomorrow. And in order to break your fear, you must take action. Stop being indecisive. You know, indecision is the mother of all fears. And many people are failing today because of indecision. There are things that you have been putting off, and I am challenging you today to not put it off any longer. Make a decision to do something, to take action on your dreams, to move you closer to that goal that you have in mind. Come on, you can do it. You've got the ability. Everything that you need is already inside of you. All you have to do is believe. It's not easy, I understand. You may have already been hit with so many blows that you don't even know how that you're still standing. But storms will come. Storms will always come. But in the eye of the storm, there is peace. So you can actually make it even though the storm is present. Because it will come to pass. Trust me on this. This is something that I know. You will make it through the storm. You know, I'm reminded of a storm in my life. Hey, all of us have had them. You know, the ones that have stopped us from moving forward. Let me tell you a little story real quick. One day I was at a seminar. In a seminar, we had to do what's called a fire walk. I don't know if you've ever seen anyone do a fire walk, but I had to make a decision to walk over some fiery coals. But at that particular time in my life, I was not prepared, and I said, no, I would never do it. Not me. You can go ahead and do it. So throughout the whole day, the speaker was going through a ritual of how to control your mind and how to take over the fears that you might be facing by meditating and focusing on things that you want. The victory. Seeing yourself already walking over that fire. Well, to make a long story short, me and my partner, we went ahead and started walking towards the fire, and they instructed us to take off our shoes. So I took off my shoes and I started walking towards the fire where everyone else was walking. Now it was a little distance, so I had to walk over concrete. But let me tell you, that walk over concrete was absolutely painful. I don't know about you, but I've got some sensitive feet. And concrete just does not sit well with these feet of mine. But as I started to walk over that concrete, I told myself, I said, man, if fire feels anything like the pain that I'm feeling now, I definitely would not even consider walking over it. Because I've always been taught that if you played with fire, well, you're bound to get burned. Well, I was not ready and was not prepared to get burned. So as I continue to walk over the concrete, it reminded me of times in my life where there's a process of change. And unfortunately, in order to change, you have to go through some pain. Sometimes it lasts a little longer than you expect. So I walked over the concrete, and before you knew it, I was in the middle of a crowd of about 300 people, everybody all excited, so much energy. And at the time of my life that I felt that I had no control was then, because all I was thinking about is how do I get out of this situation I'm in. I'm only 5'3", ladies and gentlemen. If there was a riot, I would have been stumped to death. And the last thing that I needed to do is find myself in the middle of all these people and not having a way out. So that was the only thing on my mind. But before I could exit that crowd, the actual line separated, and I found myself standing right in the middle and right next to the actual firewalk. And it was my turn. So I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and I started seeing people walk over the fire and they were celebrating, hitting their chest, saying yes. And many people were doing this stunt. And I said, wow, that's pretty amazing. But me personally, I wasn't prepared for it. So I looked down and I noticed that the embers on the ground were actually dying. So I felt that if it was a time for me to walk over fire, this would probably be the best time because the embers were almost out. So as I was preparing to take this fire walk, I looked up in the sky, said a quick prayer, and I was about to proceed and walk over the fire because it looked as if it was out. And I said, hey, I can do this. If they can do it, I can do it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before that could happen, the man that was actually orchestrating the whole event, he looked me in my face and he told me to stop. And then he took a shovel in his hand and then he placed it in the hot fiery coal that was there in front of me. And then he placed that fiery coal right down in front of me. And he laid it there, and fire and ember was jumping up. And I was like, wow, I don't know about this. I don't believe that I can handle this one. And I looked at my partner and I said, sorry, I can't do this. You go. And guess what? I took myself out of line right then and there. And I stood there in a state of shock saying, wow, I'm not going to get burned. You go ahead and get burned. Although everyone around me was going forward and was breaking their fear, I was still hesitant of moving forward. And as I stood there, I was reminded of times in my life where I failed to go forward in a lot of different areas. What else have I used and what else have I failed to actually continue to pursue? I was so close but yet so far. And many of you right now might be in a position where you are at a state of where you need to make a decision. Either you're going to take flight or you're going to go ahead and fight for your dreams. Well, as I stood there contemplating what I was going to do, someone grabbed me. And when they grabbed me, they said, hey, you know what? You can do this. Don't quit. Don't give up. You can do this. And they put me back in line. Every now and then we need someone to be able to believe in us when we can't believe in ourselves. And that's what I'd like to tell you folks, that you can do it. So I believe in you and you can make it. And at that time in my life, I needed someone to tell me that I could make it when I wanted to stop. So as I stood there back in line, I started thinking of all the times in my life where I failed, where I made decisions or may have made it so far and then quit on certain goals, where I lost focus, where I may have overcame a lot of different obstacles, but yet for some reason something got in my way and it stopped me from pursuing my dream or completing a certain project. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you that if there is something that you really want, you can actually achieve it. You just have to make the decision to make a decision. And that decision has to be vital and it has to be very important to your completion. At that point in my life, ladies and gentlemen, I knew that I had to make that decision to take that fire walk. So as I gradually started walking closer to the fire, my turn was coming. And then I realized that, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm not going to allow myself to be held in hostage and be in bondage any longer to my fears. And I felt that today was the day that I was going to break through those fears. So I looked up in the sky and I said a quick prayer. I said, I can do it. I can make it. And I believe that I'll make it and I'm not going to get burned. And then I started to step through that firewall. And the first step, it felt like bondages were being broke from my life. The second step, I felt like other bondages and other fears and other things that have held me back for so many years were being broken. And then the next step, and then the next step. And then eventually I made it through the entire fire walk. And I celebrated. But before I could celebrate, I looked down at my feet because I wasn't really concerned about the fire. It was the defeat that was really I was concerned about. That's right, defeat. Me burning my feet. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't get burnt. I succeeded that fire walk and I celebrated and I was able to overcome that obstacle. And since then, I've overcome many other obstacles because that one day, that one defining moment in my life allowed me to break through a major fear. And that fear, ladies and gentlemen, was false evidence appearing real. It was something that I believed that was going to harm me and realized that it did not harm me at all. I was capable of achieving that. Well, the reason I tell you that story is because there are things inside of you that you're able to achieve as well. There are goals and dreams and passions and inventions and things in you that you have been putting off. Make a decision today to take a step out on faith, because you have to walk on faith. And you have to know that although you can't see what is happening in front of you, you are breaking bondages every time you take and you make a decision to take a step forward. And if you fail, don't worry about it. Just fail forward. And trust me on this, you will reach your goal. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you giving me some time to talk with you today. My name is Shante Earl. Visit my website, getinline.biz. Get in line. That's right, get in line, because you have to get in line in order to make that step forward. And I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to listen to me a little bit. Talk to you soon. And remember, never give up, never give in, and never ever quit.